No, don't worry. I'm not important enough to for Sony to reach out to me. This is not the FX5. This is, of course, the Sony FX3. Y'all know I made a post and I'm several times about it. I was not able to do my initial reaction to the announcement of the Sony FX5. I was out on work. I was traveling to multiple cities for a job. I was in Detroit and then I was in Chicago. But I'm back now, and I was able to, I think it was a blessing because I was able to sit, I was able to marinate on this announcement and sort of the coverage of the Sony FX5. And I'm able to now speak on this with more clarity. And I got some post-hype clarity, some gas relief. I took some Pepto-Bismol, so I got some gas relief as well. I have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts about the Sony FX5 and the announcement. Before I get to the FX5, there's two parts really. One is the coverage of the announcement and sort of the bombardment of feeling like everybody's a salesman trying to sell you on this camera. I will say this. I have never felt so off-putting by an announcement for such a while. And it's just like, it feels like Sony was really, I feel like there was a reek of desperation a little bit. I don't think Sony is desperate, but there was this sense of desperation. The fact that they just literally just said, everybody gets it. Everybody gets a try. And it's like everybody's dropping review videos. But as you hear things and you start noticing things, pretty much most of these YouTubers and all these influencers had the camera for like a day, maybe 2 days tops. It's just, it's disgusting. It's because it just doesn't sit right for me, because to me, a review means there's serious time. It's not just, okay, you got to play with the cool camera, and obviously you're playing for us. And Sony knows what they're doing. Sony knows most of these YouTubers make most of their money from the affiliate link purchases that they get, and also it's like the views that they get from the announcement of this camera. So first views, they're going to get a lot of the buzz, and then it sort of weighs out. The amount of videos I was like, I'm buying this day one, I'm getting 5 of these, I'm getting this camera, you should get this camera. It's like, damn, like y'all just overcranked the FOMO, trying to really overcrank the FOMO. And it was just so off-putting to me. I'm sorry, just me personally. I know I would. This is why I couldn't. If Sony was to even offer me and say what a day, I would just. I'll be honest. I would tell them, look, I really would love to try it, but I simply can't accept this. I have to spend months, at the very least, months with something, or spend on multiple different projects with the camera, and that take months to do. Not just something that I just bum rush and put together quite literally last minute and just do a lot of things. Now, but shout out to all you creators that did it and you were able to do something magical. Cam, shout out to you. CVP, the work that you were able to put together and the things that you were able, for all the information CVP was able to give to us with only having a days with the camera. Awesome. Shout out to you. And again, shout out to those. But it's just, I just felt like that is such, it's so disgusting. It's so nasty that it's like you got hundreds and hundreds of these YouTubers are just bum rushing, telling you to buy this now. Oh, I gotta buy this now. I'm buying this and I'm buying this, and really selling a FOMO in for a camera that they only had a day with. So as you guys can see, it's a different day. But overall, here's the thing: the FX5 is a beast, and it's an amazing camera, and it has an argument for being the best camera for under $10,000, which I have placed right now for the Pixis. And we're going to talk about the FX5 and the Pixis in a later video. Keep an eye out for that. The features that I absolutely love. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of Open Gate. The fact that we got Open Gate finally, yes. I am super happy and super excited about that because for me, Open Gate just creates this freedom in this freedom of expression where you can build however you want and you can deliver in whatever way you want, where you're not bound by not utilizing the full sensor, whether if it's lenses or just resolution and deliverables. So you get the full readout, and I'm finally happy that Sony made a turn for that. The next thing that I'm really, really excited for is, it's a two-parter, but it's about options. The first one is the optional EVF, and the second one is the option to basically remove IBIS if you don't want it. I always feel like more option and more choices gives us more freedom to dictate how we want. Do we want to choose convenience, or do we want to choose control or methodology? So, and we get that option with this camera. Starting off with the EVF is the fact that we get a nice, decently solid, decently resolution EVF with this. It's tiltable, so that is great. And then regarding with IBIS is the fact that we can lock it up, even though now it is a permanent decision. So you really have to decide if this is what you want to do or not. So should I, if I ever do get the FX5, and I'll sort of leave where my thoughts are on that at the end of this video. For me, I'm going to take my time to decide if I want to lock. I'm kind of leaning towards removing the IBIS and basically locking the sensor, but I'm not 100% there yet. I'm still debating, but luckily I'm going to take my time with a lot of decisions regarding this camera. It is having the option to shoot RAW, but not only shoot open gate, and shoot RAW, but it's to shoot open gate into very, very compressed file sizes. That was one of the things that I wasn't sure that Sony would do. Would they remap everything? They didn't. They're still using the same SD cards and CF Express cards. And the fact that you can get these RAW files onto V90 SD cards, though it's not recommended, but you can do that. That is an exciting thing because it means that you can save money on media storage. If you don't have CF Express type A cards, you only have SD cards, you can still utilize the open gate. I would appreciate it that if it had H.265 instead of just RAW. Luckily, that is coming in version 2, though we'll get to version 2 later on in the video. But I just wanted to say it's the fact that we get these high, really good quality raw codecs and just overall great quality at very, very reasonable file sizes. And I'm going to compare this to the file management of the Pixis 12K because you may be surprised if you think one is better than the other. But again, keep an eye out for the Pixis 12K video. The last one, and this is a huge thing for me, is the fully articulating 5-axis tilt screen. I know everybody's talking about the 3.5 16:9 screen. It's okay to me. I'm not really big on that. When they said it, I wasn't that big on it, especially now that it's 16:9, because if you think about it, if you were to go to open gate, you're getting essentially the same size that you would be having if you shot open gate on the FX3 right now. It's just, it's better suited that if you're using the standard video formats of 16:9 or 17:9, it does give a better viewing option. However, I think probably the EVF is going to be the better viewing option overall, in my personal opinion. But the more important one is the fact that it's the tilting, the fact that you could tilt up and tilt down. That is the one thing that I dearly missed on the FX3 and that I really wish was on the FX3. I like having the screen centered up with the body. I do not like it off to the side. It is nice if we're doing things like if you're doing like right now where I've got, you know, where I got the thing and I'm doing maybe vlogs or YouTube stuff, but I also got, you can't really see it because it's off, but I got my phone right here and I can do my checks right here as well. So I much prefer being able to tip out because it keeps my line of sight on axis. It's a particular thing with me, but it's something that I truly do appreciate and find suitable. And of course, there's other features like the dual gain output, which I gotta see more for my testing. I don't know how valuable, based on what I'm seeing so far, I don't know how valuable that actually is. Especially when you're how much of the rolling shutter you're sacrificed. I don't know how much it is. And also there's the triple native ISO, which is really great. But I've never had a problem with the 12,800. I've talked about the 12,800 for quite a while now, so it's not that big of a deal to me. But it is nice. These are also nice features to have. We got actual true professional features such as false color, finally in a Sony camera. Finally in a Sony camera, we got false color. We got waveforms. Finally in the FX series of cameras, we got waveforms. It's just amazing that we finally got all these truly professional features in the camera. So these are all the things that I truly do appreciate. Now, where do I think there's a miss? For me, there isn't really that much in terms of actual misses with the camera. I am not a fan that the microphone port is exposed as well as the headphone port, because if you're dealing with inclement weather positions, if you get and moist gets in there, it could potentially cause harm for the camera. But just like how I deal with the Pixel 12K, you know, you should invest in proper gear to protect your cameras in inclement weathers like that. The only other thing for me is sort of the waiting period for a lot of the features that I'm really enticed by, mainly H.265 open gate. And, you know, I'm intrigued by 120, but it's H.265 or it's really non-raw open gate. But we have to wait for that until 2027, which is wild to me. That it's such a long period that we have to wait. So I'm curious to hear the reasons why. I believe Cindy D is having an interview that we'll go and discuss it. So I'll probably update on another video when it comes to that. But the last thing for me is just sort of I feel like there's a little bit of a conflicting thing with this camera, and the choice of keeping the mirrorless body and going off from the cinema cameras. And what I mean by that is that because of that, the market is different. I guess to me, it's like, I don't really see this camera sort of as an A camera, but it has A camera features. If this is the thing, where you got the A camera, something like the FX6, this camera clearly has better features than the FX6. But the FX6 to me is still an A camera because of workflow. And it's just, for serious productions, it's just better overall. And it's something that I know I've talked to quite a few other filmmakers since this announcement, and they still prefer the FX6, or they still prefer the Pixel 12K because the workflow is just better suited for production in terms of SDI ports. B and C timecode, not USB-C timecode. It's this weird thing where for the FX5, it's that it's an A camera featured camera, but it's in a B camera style body. Now, the question is, who is the FX5 for? For me personally, I think if you work in the sports realm, you work in either high action sports, extreme sports, or if you cover, you know, various forms of like professional athletes and things like that for like the NFL or the NBA, this camera is an absolute like day one buy. Because in the sports world and the people that would work in that sort of realm, the features are tailor-made for that type of shooter, where you're going to be doing a lot of action. There's probably going to be the super fast rolling shutter readouts. The workflow is just going to be, in my personal opinion at least, it's going to be very, very good for most of the shooters out there that are in that sports world. If you are a documentarian, or so I'll say, if you're more sort of a travel documentarist, I think this is going to be a great buy. However, I also feel like there's quite a few options on the table now that are definitely cheaper, that obviously are not as feature rich as this camera, but I also feel some of those rich features are not nearly as important for that, but I always feel like travel films are probably going to be the next bet, especially if your clients are like social media influencers who really need those multiple different formats, where if they have for like different social media platforms. I think that's going to be the second thing. After that, it kind of gets murky, not because that the camera's bad or there's flaws with the camera. It's just that there's so many other different options. For example, with narrative, I personally think if you're doing professional narrative work, something like the Pixis 12K or the FX6 are going to be better buys simply because of the workflow that those jobs have, where you're going to be working with maybe not the largest crew, but you're going to have multiple departments, and multiple departments need to have different ways to view the option to do their jobs. So and there's just certain industry standards that are in those fields, like SDI, BNC time code. Even though this does have time code, to me, the BNC time code is just industry standard. For narrative, I still think there's just better options than the FX5. With weddings, for me, it gets murky, mainly because you don't really, a lot of the features that are like the highlight features of this camera, while they could enhance it, they don't enhance it enough or change the work or enhance the workflow enough. In a lot of cases, they may slow you down. Even though there's a great raw compress option, it's still higher than the all-I of the of the all-I codec in there, and certainly higher than the all-I that's in the FX3. And with weddings, shooting raw is not necessarily a big deal, and sometimes it's a hindrance, because depending on the computer that you have, it may slow your flow. So something like H.265 would be ideal, and things like OpenGate don't have that. It's only raw only. So for me, I think in terms of something like weddings, I think the FX3 is still a better option. The S12 are great options, as another alternative option. The Canon C50, or even something like the R6V. And then commercials, I think commercials is probably another area where it's going to do fairly well. But I also feel like once you get to a certain budget with commercials, where you all of a sudden have more people, and that it changes the workflow, something like the FX6 or the Burano or the Venice are just going to be better. Could this be a B camera? Sure. As a primary A camera, there's just better options. And again, the Pixis 12K to me would be a better option for commercial work because of just that workflow. This is one of those weird things where you got a camera that checks, if not all the boxes, very damn close to checking all the boxes. But it's also a camera that, for me, it's a camera that also is coming at a price point that really, it justifies the price, but at the same time, there's just so much in the market. There's so many good cameras that, sure, you can use this, but there's so much more affordable options that you can make in terms of having it. Do I see myself getting this camera? Maybe down the line, I may consider it. Right now, I feel no rush to get the camera. Like right now, I have the Sony FX3, and I'm filming on this right now. For what I need it to do, this covers what I need. Yes, the FX5 could do more, but also it comes at significantly more expenses. Not just the cost of the camera, but the workflow cost, which I don't think so many people are really factoring in right now. And I just personally, I would rather invest my money into lenses and to other things that will enhance the experience for myself, but also the work experience of my clients, that makes our experience of working together better. And a new camera is not going to do that. I guess this leads into my overall thoughts of the camera, and that to me is, I think the FX5 is the greatest B camera currently in the market. And I think that's the best way to describe it. It is the best B camera currently right now that we have. And I know this seems like a backhanded compliment. It's really not, because let's be clear. It is my personal belief in terms of filmmaking is that the best B cameras are cameras that can be A cameras in certain situations. And that is literally what this camera is made of. It's that this camera is it has A camera features, as I mentioned before, in a B camera style body. To me, if I am I going to get it? I don't know yet. I am still waiting out. And look, I think it's okay to wait, regardless of what some of the YouTubers may think and try to FOMO you in. I just personally think that it is best suited to just wait, take your time, and let's just see how it goes. I'll if a project comes up where I see it usable, I'll rent it out. And then I'll try it out. I'm sure I'll run into a couple of my filmmaking friends, and I can ask to try it out as well. So I'm intrigued, but I'm not in no rush. I got everything. Recently, I just had my anniversary, my 12th year anniversary, and I took out for the day part. I took out the Pixis 12K, and I realized that I'm perfectly okay with the travel with the Pixis. I know some people will say it's too heavy. It's not suited for travel. That's just dead wrong. I am happy to take the Pixis anywhere. It's only in certain situations, and that's where like in the evening, like a restaurant, where it may not be appropriate for something like that. The FX3 is still a great camera, and I think that's sort of where I think it kind of stands for me, is that if this camera had came out a few years ago, this would be the number one of everything, and it would be but because there's so much market space that tackles very specific things, a camera like this that is good at almost everything, but at a price point that it's at, it makes me want to just maybe look at other options. But again, I am still intrigued, and I may replace my FX3 with it. I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you guys know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Leave your comments down below. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.